The galaxy remembered the day as the silencing of Sol. The Kareth Dominion, old, proud, and cruel, called it something else: justice. It began with the death of one man. Admiral Jonas Hale, commander of the United Terran Diplomatic Fleet, had come not with weapons, but words. His ships carried banners of parley, not the black hulls of war. The Dominion had been seizing border systems, worlds barely settled, their people more pioneer than soldier. Hale had been sent to reason, but the Kyrith did not reason with what they deemed lesser species. When the Terran envoy arrived in orbit above Valdor Prime, the Kyrith capital, their warlord, High Marshal Zeruth, greeted them not with negotiation, but with spectacle. Before the Galactic Council's assembled delegates, he had Hale dragged from his ship, stripped of insignia, and impaled on a shard of crystalline alloy in the plaza of Triumvirate Square. The Dominion's media broadcast the execution across hundreds of systems. The image of the Terran admiral, bleeding under twin suns, was replayed endlessly. An act of warning, they said, to teach the humans humility. Zeruth declared in his guttural, resonant tongue, "Let this death end their delusions of equality. One death is enough to remind Earth of its place." The crowd roared. The Dominion rejoiced. The stars watched, and Earth fell silent. The laughter of the Dominion. For weeks, the Dominion celebrated. They toasted Hale's death as proof of human fragility. Their networks aired endless talk shows mocking Terran restraint. Commentators sneered that humans were a sentimental race, chained by emotion and law. On Kareth broadcasts, hosts laughed. They will grieve, they will hold memorials, and then they will forgive, because that is what humans do. They lack the stomach for retribution. Their analysts spoke with confidence, born of arrogance. The Kyrith had measured Earth's strength once, during the early days of expansion. They had seen the small, disciplined fleets, the patient diplomacy, the reluctance to fight unless cornered. They had mistaken patience for weakness. Within their war councils, they dismissed retaliation as improbable. "They are new to the stars," one admiral hissed. "Their reach is small, their fleets are defensive, their colonies soft. They do not understand the nature of power." The Dominion expanded further, probing into human territory. Minor skirmishes flared along the borders, colonies stripped, supply lines raided. They assumed Earth would yield. After all, humanity had always tried to avoid bloodshed. They thought one death, enough, but that single death had ignited something, ancient in human memory, something buried, deep in the marrow of their species. 3. The silence before the storm. It began with the silence. Kyrith trade ships vanished at the edge of the Orion Arm. Patrol fleets failed to report in. Relay stations went dark without distress calls. At first, the Dominion assumed interference, perhaps a solar flare, maybe sabotage by local pirates. But then their long-range sensors picked up movement. Massive, deliberate movement. In the Sol system, Earth's orbital docks were no longer civilian beacons of commerce and diplomacy. They had transformed into forges. The great rings above Luna, once used for orbital mining, pulsed with molten light as weapons production surged beyond known limits. The Terran Defense Command, once a peacekeeping force, was reorganized overnight. Every shipyard from Mars to Titan came alive. Every forgotten war satellite was reactivated. Civilian traffic was banned beyond the asteroid belt. Earth itself vanished behind a veil of encrypted silence. No transmissions, no diplomacy, no explanations. And then came the message, a single transmission, broadcast through every known frequency, every relay, every Dominion stronghold. Admiral Hale was not just a man. He was humanity's voice. You silenced one voice. Now you will hear the roar of billions. It was unsigned. It did not need a name. The galaxy understood HFY. The March of Iron, the Dominion's frontier fleet saw it first. Dark shapes emerging from the black. Human dreadnoughts, far larger than any the Kyrith had ever recorded, drifted from slipspace like titans waking from slumber. Hulls black as obsidian, adorned with the silver crest of a broken spear, the insignia of Earth's vengeance. These ships did not broadcast identification codes. They did not negotiate. They came with silence and purpose. Each Terran vessel was a cathedral of war, its engines burning cold blue, its weapons systems pulsing like thunderhearts. Entire planets went dark as these fleets passed, communications jammed, orbital stations disabled without a word. And when the first Kareth garrison opened fire, the humans answered. Not with precision, not with restraint, but with fury. Orbital bombardments reduced fortresses to ash. Planetary shields, thought impenetrable, cracked under kinetic spears that tore continents apart. The Dominion's admirals screamed orders, but their ships could not outmaneuver the Terran formations. Every counterattack was predicted, every retreat anticipated. Earth had studied their tactics for decades. Now it was applying them with terrifying perfection. The humans moved without emotion, without taunts or boasts. They advanced like an algorithm of annihilation, methodical, silent, inevitable. And as their fleets pushed deeper into Dominion space, they left behind worlds glassed into silence. The Dominion burns. The war escalated beyond comprehension. Kyreth Prime's skies turned crimson as the Terran 7th Armada entered orbit. The defenders activated planetary cannons, great towers of plasma and lightning. They never fired. The cannons melted under pinpoint bombardments before their crews even powered them. Human ground troops landed in the ruins. They did not occupy. They eradicated. Cities that had once displayed Hale's death were leveled first. Every propaganda hub, every media spire, every governor's palace became a crater. And when Terran commandos entered the Triumvirate Square, the site of Hale's execution, they found the crystalline spike still standing, stained dark by decades of Kyreth reign. They broadcast a new message across the stars. For Admiral Jonas Hale, for the innocent who believed in peace, for every name you mocked. The transmission ended with the spike melting under a plasma torch. No anthem. No declaration. Just vengeance fulfilled, one act at a time. Across the Dominion, panic spread. Their civilians begged for mercy. Their governors pleaded for ceasefire. But the humans did not respond. The fleets kept coming. Larger, faster, endless. Dreadnoughts named Retribution, Nemesis, Hale's Wrath, Indomitable, each one carrying thousands of soldiers who no longer recognized the word surrender. Dominion historians would later write that the humans fought as though guided by ghosts. Every strike precise, every target symbolic, as if humanity sought not just victory, but memory. They were ensuring the galaxy would never forget why they fought. The fall of Zeruth at last. The High Marshal himself, Zurith the Conqueror, found his palace surrounded. The sky above Valdor Prime burned. Terran dropships blotted out the stars. His once mighty defense fleet lay in orbit, torn and drifting, its fragments glowing like embers of dying arrogance. The Marshal, desperate, tried to open communication. "Humans," he rasped through his comlink. "Enough. You have proven your—" The reply came as a whisper, cold and final. "One death was enough. You made sure of that." Then the Terran bombardment began. Witnesses said the ground itself screamed. The oceans boiled. The twin suns dimmed beneath the ash clouds. The palace disintegrated, and with it, the Dominion's rule. When the fires cleared, nothing remained of Valdor Prime but a crater stretching 1,000 kilometers wide. A wound visible from orbit. Humanity did not claim the world. It left it burning, a monument of silence. 7. The galaxy watches. The aftermath rippled across the stars. Neighboring empires who had once mocked Earth now shuttered their borders. The Galactic Council convened emergency sessions, their delegates trembling as Terran representatives, dressed in black, faces cold as stone, entered the chamber for the first time since Hale's death. No one dared speak. The Terran envoy placed a single object upon the central dais, the melted fragment of the crystalline spike from Valdor Prime. Then they left. No demands. No alliances. No threats, because they no longer needed words. The galaxy understood the message written in fire and ash. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. And for every life taken, they answer with 1,000 suns. The echo of Hale years passed. The war's scars became haunted relics. Dominion ruins turned into memorials of warning. Traders whispered stories in dim-lit bars, of human ships that still patrolled the void, silent and watchful. Children of alien worlds grew up fearing the black hulls of the Terran fleet, the ships that arrived without sound or mercy. And somewhere, deep within the Orion Arm, a statue stood within Earth's central plaza, Admiral Jonas Hale, eyes cast toward the stars, hands folded as if in peace. Beneath him, etched in cold titanium, were words now repeated across the galaxy like prayer. One death was enough, to awaken the wrath of humanity. Nigh, the lesson the galaxy learned. Empires that once mocked Earth now sent emissaries, bearing gifts instead of demands. Races that once sneered at human sentiment began teaching their young the story of Hale's execution, not as history, but as warning. Because humanity's vengeance was unlike any the stars had ever seen. It was not rage without reason. It was fury with purpose, controlled, deliberate, and total. They waited until every enemy was gone, until the Kyrith name itself was erased from record. Only then did the Terran fleets turn home. And when they reached Earth, the ships entered silent orbit. Their crews disembarked not as conquerors, but as mourners. They had won, yes, but every victory carried the weight of that first death. For every sun burned, every world shattered, humanity had remembered why it began. Not for empire, not for dominance, but for one man who believed peace was worth dying for. And so, in quiet ceremony, the Terran High Command decommissioned its war banners. The fleets went dark again. The forges fell silent. The galaxy exhaled. But in the endless dark beyond the stars, the memory lingered. Every race, every nation, every ambitious warlord carried the same whispered truth. Do not awaken Earth's fury, for when humans march, the stars themselves tremble. The silence after vengeance centuries later. The ashes of the Dominion had long cooled. New civilizations rose, old ones faded. But the story endured, passed down in myth and dread alike. Children of distant species would ask their elders, did humans truly destroy an empire for one man? And their elders would answer yes, and they did not stop until the stars themselves bore witness. Because in humanity's heart lies a paradox, mercy vast as oceans, vengeance deep as the void. They can forgive, until you teach them why they shouldn't. The galaxy never forgot that lesson. And in the cold silence between worlds, where no signal travels and no light reaches, one can still hear the faint echo of Earth's promise. They thought one death enough, but it began wars.